Our thank you, Roger, for starting the recording, and welcome to the November edition, which is also the Thanksgiving edition, and the Veterans Day edition, and the this month it was also the Eclipse of the Moon edition of the Tucson Macintosh User Group. And we'd like to welcome everybody, the sustaining members, new members, first-time guests. Is there anybody here who's here for the first time other than Christian? Okay, moving forward. Well, and Tim Hickman, welcome. I understand that you are a former member of TMUG, and we'd be happy to welcome you to the meeting. And if you find something worthwhile, we'd be happy to help you, have you rejoin us. So we welcome our guest presenter for the evening, Christian Boyce, an Apple Tech author, speaker, and semi-competitive barbecuer. If this were an in-person meeting, I'm sure that he would have brought along some tasting plates. Alas, we're on our own on that count. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, December 20th at this virtual location. We will have our regular Ask Me Anything session hosted by Kevin. Kevin is now taking a well-deserved rest and letting his voice catch back up with him. Thank you, Kevin. In December, we will see the return of Chris Wesselman, who will take us on a personal tour through Apple's accessibility preferences. He said he will be unable to speak to everything in accessibility, but he'll be showing us those parts that are familiar to him. Then try to answer any questions that you may have. I am nearly clueless as to what's available and will watch with interest. One other thing we might show in December is how to get your COVID-19 vaccinations into your iPhone's wallet. Is there anybody here who has not yet done that by raising your hand? Well, we got a couple at least, three. So we might do that. It's a pretty quick demo. And for announcements, we're still meeting by Zoom, and please be polite and mute your microphone when you are not speaking. This will help everybody else enjoy the meeting. We have a new virtual raffle during our Zoom meetings. Last month's winner was Susan Oates. Congratulations, Susan. Are you here yet tonight? I don't see her name. Also, in these inflationary times, we'll be raising the value of the virtual raffle or door prize to $25. Sorry, Susan. The names of tonight's attendees will be collated in a numbered list and used to pick a winner. Also, the super raffle tickets will be filled out by our secretary, Kurt Blanchard. When registering for our groups.io mail list, please use your TMUG email address of record. If you don't know what that is, please send me an email and I will give you the address of record. TMUG is currently suggesting that members wait to install iOS 16, although we're kind of on the cusp. I've done it on my iPad and about to do it on my iPhone and Mac OS Ventura, easy for me to say. But to help you understand this new system, you can download user guides in the Apple Bookstore.app. TMUG elections will be held in January. Please consider running for office. Are there any other announcements? What did I forget? Okay, moving forward. Are there any for sales or wanted to buys? Then we're going to go to our tech update with Ridge, who's going to give us a perhaps abbreviated version of that. And Ridge, are you ready to proceed?
Oh, yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, here we are for the month of November. And of course, the software that's been updated since last time that you can see on this list, Firefox had several for the Mac. I don't list them all now. There's a bunch of them from 106.0 through 107.0 in Firefox. And let's see what we've got here for now. We have more for more of the updates. Chrome had a bunch of them for the Mac and for iOS, the Pixelmator. And Super Duper for those that use Super Duper. Now let me stop a second here and fix my screen.
While Ridge is working on that, I just want to let everybody know that the link to the feedback form for this month's meeting is in the chat. And also I have placed the Safari Tips for Mac Users document authored by Christian Boyce, our guest speaker, into the chat as well. So if you have not received it through email, here's another chance to get it. And you might want to download it and follow along when he presents his stuff. Are you ready to proceed, Ridge?
Fortunately, my screen is not the way it should be.
We're seeing software updates.
All right, and then Quicken, for those who use Quicken, was updated. Now Apple has released 2 firmware updates, one for the AirPods Pro 2 and the other one for the AirTags. And Big Sur got an update as well, and so did Monterey, and Ventura is now 1301. And if you're using GarageBand, it was updated. The HomePod software got an update, and iOS has gotten several updates. If you're using the old 15 version, it's now 15.7.1, and iOS 16 is all the way up to 16.1.1. The iPad OS also, if you're using the old version, is 15.7.1, and the new one has got all the way up to 16.1.1 as well. And Apple released an update to tvOS and watchOS and Safari, especially for Big Sur and Monterey. And if you're using Pages, Numbers, and Keynote on either your Mac or iOS, it's now in version 12.2. And the professional versions of their software, Final Cut Pro, Compressor, Logic Pro, Mainstays, Motion, all got updates. And iMovie, if you use that. And Xcode for programmers is up to 14.1. coming is another update to Ventura. And these are now in beta for iOS and iPad and the tvOS and watchOS. They've got updates coming. Now, their fourth quarter financial report was pretty good. Their revenue was up 8% year over year, and the biggest update was the Mac sales. That up 25% over the year before. So everything was up year over year. And so Apple is still doing very good. Now, miscellaneous, the dog cow is back in Ventura. When you use Apple's operating system printing code, Command-Shift-P, in applications that use Apple's page or document layout dialog, then there's the old version of the dog cow on the left, and on the right, you got the new one that you'll see. And miscellaneously, Apple patently Apple found a patent that is being filed by Apple to maybe bring back the glowing Apple logo on the lids of your MacBooks, which was quit back in 2015. And the patent that they filed was listed as a backlit, partially reflective mirror that may be used to form a logo or other structure in an electronic device. Now, which Macs can run Ventura? And here is the list of official list of all of the Macs that can run Ventura. And here's the list of those who cannot run Ventura. I'll let that sit there for a while.
One thing to note on that is that I have a MacBook Air from 2014. And when I go to software updated, it gives me an option to update to Ventura.
Wow.
I don't know what that's about. And I've had several people tell me their older MacBook Pros had showed an option to upgrade as well.
Well, maybe it's not officially supported. Apple says it's probably not officially supported. I guess that's why these are listed that cannot run Ventura.
Yeah, either that or it could be a bug in their update server.
Uh-huh. This is that Ventura issue that we talked about a little bit earlier. That Macwell Bytes reported that they had over 1,000 of their customers report that the real-time protection had turned off and was not able to be turned back on again after they installed the 13.0 Mac OS release. And they checked with other security companies and found that everyone else was reporting the same thing. And Apple says there's supposedly going to be a fix in 13.1. And so far, they checked the contents of 13.1 and didn't see a fix in it so far. But this, be advised, is not true for everyone. Just a bunch of people reported it. And maybe it needs to be addressed. In rumors, the only rumor that is left over from last month is somebody says Apple's maybe going to release a giant 16-inch iPad late next year. Oh, man. And the AirPods 2 earphones are experiencing some odd audio drift issues for many of folks that have AirPods 2. That causes spatial audio and dynamic head tracking if it's disabled. There's no fix from Apple yet, as far as I know. And the M1 and M2 chip issue, it seems likely Apple's not going to release more M2 chip upgraded Macs this year. And they get that from listening closely to Tim Cook's comments during the fourth quarter financial earnings call, where he said, quote, "As we approach the holiday season with our product lineup set, the most likely release." So that it's the product lineup is set, so no other new products are going to be in it. So maybe next year. And then officially, Apple's Senior Vice President Greg Joswiak confirmed that all the new iPhones coming later will switch from Lightning to USB-C sometime within the next year or two. The European community is really strong about making everything be USB-C instead of Lightning as well. Here's a nice thing that Apple Watch did. There was a driver in Indianapolis who struck a telephone pole at 70 miles an hour. While he was fighting to stay conscious and he was fading in and out, he felt his Apple Watch make a haptic motion on his wrist, and he realized that the watch was going to call emergency medical services. And the next thing he heard was a voice saying, "Hello, are you there?" He was hospitalized with vision problems, but is expected to make a full recovery. And he emailed to Tim Cook his thanks for the watch saving his life. And Tim railed back saying he was sorry it happened, and that is exactly why Apple developed the crash detection feature. And how about Nostalgia Corner? This is an original $700 2007 iPhone that has never been opened, and the plastic is still on it, and it sold for over $39,000 on a recent auction. And of course, the next time we have an in-person meeting, we'll give everybody who's a member a pin, a free pin. And that's it for the first part of my presentation. And now we'll turn to items of security interest. And these are the software products that have had significant security fixes. Adobe Illustrator, and of course, Google Chrome for the Mac and iOS, and Mozilla did the updates in Firefox with the security fixes. And Apple updated a whole bunch of stuff with security patches. The Big Sur and Monterey and Ventura updates got fixes. iOS and iPad OS all got fixes. Safari got fixes. tvOS, Watch, and the Xcode all got fixes that had software fixes in them. The moral of the story is to make sure you keep your software updated. And as far as cybercrime goes, TransUnion, the Consumer Credit Reporting Agency, they notified their consumers and the Massachusetts Attorney General of a recent data breach that resulted in the compromise of a whole bunch of stuff. I'm concerned about the full social security numbers and complete driver's license numbers. And all TransUnion has done is sent letters to everybody they think is infected, and with instructions to help them protect themselves from identity theft and fraud. Right. That's a big one. And that's it for me today. Thanks for your attention. And of course, the biggest moral of the story is to stay safe and watch out for the bad guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Ridge. And now that he has left the stage, we're clear for Christian to take over. The security tips for Mac users document is in the meeting chat if you don't have it already. Also, a link to the feedback form. We appreciate your feedback after the meeting. In fact, it might not be a bad time to click on that link now and leave it open in Safari or your browser of choice for your use later on. Christian, thank you so much for joining us, and please take it over.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. It's always fun to do these sorts of things. So before I start, I'll just say I've been teaching people how to do things with their Macs and then their iPhones since 1986. So a long time. And that's all I do. That's all I do. I mean, I had a little detour where I worked as a rocket scientist for a few years, but this is more fun, and so this is what I do. I've written a few books. They're over there in the bookcase somewhere, but nobody reads the books anymore, so you really have to just crank out web pages, and that's what I do now. So if you you like the way I teach you tonight, you might find some things on my website, christianboyce.com. And, I'll take questions and things. Now, tonight, I've got a lot to cover. It's all about Safari on the Mac. And, if you got questions, if you think it's of general interest, I guess we'll ask it. I don't know how you normally handle your meetings, but if that's okay, I'll take the questions. If the questions just seems to be something I'm gonna have to put off, I'll just say so. Let's put it off. Okay. So now today I'm gonna start by sharing my screen, and I think I'll share this one right here. And this particular screen doesn't look like very much right now, but here's Safari. What I want to do is start by actually getting ready to. I want to start by customizing something here on the screen. So hopefully you see my screen, and I've got system preferences up. Now you might have noticed that this is not Ventura, because this machine I use every day and it's got to work. And I don't like to upgrade to a new operating system until they've gotten at least the 0.1, but really the 0.2 is better. So this is Monterey. And so we've got the old style system preferences, which I like a lot better than the new one. Okay, let's look at one thing I want to do is, it's always hard when someone's demoing, hard for people to see the cursor. So what I like to do, and you might do this on your own Mac, is go to accessibility here, go to display, go to pointer, and we're going to make the pointer bigger. Okay, so make it bigger so that you all can see it. And I'm going to change the outline color of the pointer too. I'm going to make it a nice bright green. So now it's really easy for you to find. I hope you can see it better than before. And I like to leave it like that. So I normally run it like this so I can see it better on a big screen. Okay. So now let's talk Safari. So I'm gonna get Safari up here again. I'm gonna make a new window. It just sits there. And one other thing about the class here before we go any further is when you're looking at my screen and I'm sharing the screen, if it doesn't fit on your screen, you should use that little view options up near the top, and you can click on it and you can say fit to window. So if your screen isn't as big as my screen, you can do fit to window. It'll shrink it down, but it'll fit. All right, so that's nice. So let's talk about preferences before we go anywhere here. I'm going to go to Safari's preferences, not system preferences, Safari's preferences. So in here, there are an awful lot of things. Let's just take it from the beginning. I'm not going to go through every single one, but I'm going to show you some things that I think you should at least consider so that your experience is better. All right. So one thing is here in the general section, you get to decide what happens when you start up Safari. Does it open up a new window? Does it open up the windows from last time? Or does it open up a non-private windows from last time, or a new private window? Well, I just want a plain window. So when I click Safari, either in the dock or double clicking it or launching it some other way, I get a new window. But then what do new windows look like? Well, I like new windows to look like this, the start page. And right here, you're looking at a start page. This is a start page. And it doesn't look like it's all that fancy, but truth is it's really great. And these are favorites. These are things that are in your favorites bar across the top here. These things are these things. You can show more of them. There's a lot of stuff that kind of acts like a Ouija board here. If you hover over, you see there's a show all, and there's a lot of favorites. So I'm going to just show the main ones. These are websites I've been to a lot, and these are pages that have been shared with me. And then down here, what's really interesting, these are web pages that are on my my iPad. So here's my iPad, and I'm looking at these pages now, and these pages can be viewed on my Mac. And a lot of times, what happens is you find yourself reading something on your on your iPad or your iPhone, and again, I can change that here, by the way. Here's what's on the iPhone, but it's too small. And you get home and you think, well, I'd like to read this on my Mac. So instead of having to email yourself or share the page with yourself, it's all right here. So I like this a lot. So I do make use of this. This is a feature called iCloud Tabs. And I'll show you one more thing down here at the bottom of this start page. There's this preferences button that doesn't look like a button, but it's way down here at the bottom. When you click on it, it turns out to be a button. So here are the things that we just went through. We see favorites, we see frequently visited, we see things that were shared with me. I don't care so much about the privacy report. There's not much I can do about it. Siri's making some suggestions, reading lists, which I don't use too much, but iCloud Tabs. And if I want iCloud Tabs up the top, I can just drag it up. And so now, if I look at the iCloud Tabs, here's the favorites, and here's the iCloud Tabs right here. So this is worth looking into. So anyway, this is the way I like it. And many times, all I want to do is hit one of these buttons anyway to go to a page that I go to all the time. All right, let's talk about some other things about the preferences. Come back here, the preferences. Where do your downloads go? Well, they're going somewhere. So if you download something, mine go to the downloads folder, the standard downloads folder. Some people like them to go to their desktop. Well, wherever they're going, just know where they're going. And if you want to put it somewhere else, you can hit other, and you can go pick some other page. But I like to go to the downloads. This downloads list is about this list up here. If you click here, these are the things that we've downloaded lately, in this case today. So when you do download something, what happens a lot is people go into the dock because they see the thing fly into the dock. They go down there and they start looking around, and it's kind of awkward. This is the easy way, is just click here and you'll see what you downloaded. And if you want to use it, you can click it. And if you want to just find it, you can hit the magnifying glass here and go see it. And there it is. Okay, so while we're at it, let's look at a little bit more of the preferences. So there's a little bit of setting up here, but once we get going, we'll do some real fun stuff. Tabs, well, tabs. Look, I think we all probably use tabs now. There's sort of the traditional view, and there's this compact view. I think you're probably going to like the traditional view. You can try this one, but just know that you can do it. And then you have a lot of interesting options here about when you click a link that's going to open up a new page. It'll simply open a new tab instead if you do it like this. And here, if you're holding a command, you'll open a link in a new tab if that's if that page would have just switched to the new page. This puts it in its own little tab. This is important stuff. There's all kinds of options here. These things change depending on what happens here. If I uncheck this, everything kind of flips. So this is the way I like it. Just know that something's going to happen when you hold a command key down and click on a link. That's the main thing. While we're at it, you can change your search engines. Some people would prefer not to use Google, and they'll use something else. DuckDuckGo's nice. Bing is okay. Yahoo is really the same, and because I think they rent from Bing. But this is where you do it. This is how you decide. And I don't know this one myself. Ecosia. Now let's look at one more thing, and that is the toolbar. So what I've done here is I've changed my Safari to be very standard, and this area across the top, the toolbar, looks pretty plain, and it might look just like yours. But I like to modify that. So I'm gonna go here to View and customize the toolbar. Now I got a little lucky there when I hit the View menu. Sometimes customize toolbars over here and Edit in other programs, but basically Apple programs almost always have a way to customize the toolbar, and it's usually called customize toolbar. So if you're looking for those words, you'll find them. So here we go. So I like to have these zoom buttons to make things bigger and smaller. So I'm gonna put that there. I like to have a home button because I can set a web page to be home. Show you that in a minute. Privacy report's already there. iCloud tabs. I like iCloud tabs. I just showed you what they were. And I think that will do it for me. Okay, so, and I can move these things around to anywhere. If I wanted the bigger, smaller buttons over here, that's fine. And in fact, if you really want to show off, if you hold down the command key, when you're holding the command key, you can then drag stuff around just like this. So I can rearrange if I'm holding the command key first. Okay, so I got it. There we go. All right, so there's that. And last but not least in those preferences, I wanted to show you that when we make a home page, now the home page is different than a new page, right? Unless you tell it that new windows open with the home page, they'll be different. So I've got new windows open with this page I showed you before, the start page. My home page is this one, Mac Rumors, because that's something I need to read a lot. So what I do is, since I set, let's show you again, since I set the home page to be Mac Rumors, then if I click the home button that I just put up there, it's Mac Rumors. Okay, so it's nice to have the chance to do a home page like that. Okay, good. Now let's start using this thing and let's do some things with it. So I've kind of preloaded some pages that I think might be interesting. I'll start with actually I'm going to start with this one here, not this one here. I'm going to start with the LA Times is what I'm going to do. So we'll go to LA Times like this. LA Times, and by the way, my favorite shortcut, I want to go up here and type LA Times up there. And the normal thing to do is you take your little mouse and you go up here and you click and you type over it. Okay, that works. But it's a bit of mousing around. You got to find the cursor. That's no fun. So what I do, which I'd like you to do, is I use the shortcut Command L, and Command L is for location. And I can't remember where that is, but we're gonna, maybe we'll see it here. If you see a Command L, tell me to stop. Well, trust me, Command L is gonna work. So when I do Command and L, it jumps up into that box, saves me a lot of time, save you a lot of time too. So I'm gonna go to LA Times, and you know, this is the way to do it. You wanna go up there and type it in the search box. You don't want to go to Google, search for LA Times, and then click the first link that comes up. It's a waste of time for one thing. I can go there directly like this, and also you might not actually get to where you think you're going. So type it in the search box like I did up at the top, because it's a combo search box and address box. So I'm going to hit return here. I'm going to LA Times. Okay, now here I am in the LA Times, and let's face it, it's this thing is a mess. Now you may not be reading the LA Times, you might be reading Arizona paper, but the reason this is a mess is because it's full of ads. Okay, all of this is an ad, and there's a big ad across the top, ad. So that's no good. So what I like to do is I like to hide the ads, and so we can hide the ads a couple of ways. One way is in the preferences, you can add an extension. And this is the one I like for ads. It's called Wiper. If I turn on Wiper like this, I got to tell it that it's okay. Then I have to tell it to go okay again, and one more time. So Wiper is, in my opinion, is the best ad blocker there is. Now at the moment, it doesn't seem to be doing anything, right? It's not blocking ads. And that's because every website has its own settings that, as far as Safari is concerned. So with Safari here, I can come in here and look at the settings for the LA Times. And I can tell it to enable content blockers. So now it's clean, right? So that was pretty easy. That's enabling the content blockers. So some pages aren't going to let you view them if you don't let them show the ads. So if they tell you, hey, we see you've got an ad blocker on, you got to turn it off. You don't have to turn it off for your whole Safari. You can just say, okay, for this website, I'm going to allow the ads to come through. So in other words, the content blockers aren't going to block anything. There are other content blockers out there. There's other, there's Ad Block Plus and Ad Block Pro and Ad Block this and that. But this is the one I like, is Wiper. So step one was to hide the ads. That was good. Now I'm going to show you another page that's laid out a little bit differently. So I'll make a new window. Let's go to ESPN. So I read a lot of stuff on ESPN, and again, I want to show you what this looked like with, you see that the ads are showing because content blockers is off. So turn the content blockers on, it's a little cleaner, it's easier to read. And another thing we can do in these settings again, the settings for this website, you see, not preferences like this, but down here, as you can say, look, when I come to this page, I'd like it to be a little bit bigger. So I can say, always make it 115%, just a little bigger. Now I'll make it quite a bit bigger so you can see it's a lot bigger. But this way, I don't have to zoom the page when I come into this website. It's going to just work. Okay, so you can do this on a page-by-page, well, a site-by-site basis. You don't have to do it on every single page for the site. You just have to do it for the site once, and it's remembered. So when you come back to the site tomorrow or the next day or next year, those settings are still remembered, and so that the page displays the way you like it. That is, with the content blocker, with the size that you like. But let's read a story here. I'm gonna find a story. And so I want to read this story. Well, okay. If I read this story, it's not terribly hard to read. At least we hid the ads. But there's a lot going on this page besides the story that I want to read. You've got this stuff they're trying to distract you to. All these buttons over here. So it turns out sometimes bigger is not better. It's very tempting with a big screen to do something like this, to hit the zoom button, get big. This doesn't make it easier to read. Okay, there's a reason why newspaper columns are skinny, because it's easier to read a skinny column. Well, watch what happens if I resize this window. They're going to resize the content, and it's going to rearrange. See, there it goes. I just lost all that stuff on the left-hand side. You remember all that stuff over here that was distracting? Well, I don't want to see it. I want to see what I want to see. So if I move this over, it's easier already. And now it's rearranged again. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. I still have this business in the middle, but pretty good. So you make quite a difference just by resizing the window, and you should really experiment with that. Different sites are going to be more responsive in this way than others, but there's something even better than this, and that is called Reader View. So when you're looking at a web page like this, there's another way to view it for people that like to read web pages. If you want to read and you don't want to see a bunch of, I don't know, dancing cowboys and things and other ads and nonsense, what you do, you either do it like this. You can say show reader, and you can see there's a shortcut for it, Command-Shift-R. So I'll do show reader this way. When you do it, now this is just pure reading, okay? It's just pure reading. I can read this very easily. Now the size of it might seem a little large, but that's because I did it that way. But if I click up here, now this is a new button. If I click here, sorry, my mistake. If I here on these little buttons, these little double A's, I have all kinds of preferences, and so I can make it a little smaller. I'm clicking the little A. That's about right for me. I'm going to read it against a tan background like this. I'm going to pick a different font maybe. I'll just pick a different one. I like the one I have, but I'm going to pick a different one so you can just see. So, you know, very, very nice, lots of control. If you want to read it white on black, you can do that too. Okay, so different strokes for different folks. I like this. So what's nice about this, now if I click this again, I'm back to the normal view. If I do the shortcut, right, I can do this, the reader shortcut, Command-Shift-R. So I'm going to do it here. You won't see me do it, but I'm holding down the keys and hitting it. There it is. Do it again, and it's off. I can click here and do it. That's another way. It's awfully nice. Now, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to do reader over here on the LA Times site. In fact, you know, before I go, I'm going to show you one more thing in these preferences for the settings for ESPN. I'm going to tell it always use the reader when it's available. Why not? So now what happens? Let's go back to our main ESPN page here. We'll go to ESPN. Make this a little bit bigger just to hide the other things. Okay, so let's say I want to read this article about Aaron Rodgers. When I click it, see, well, I'm going to click it and I'll show you why this doesn't look like reader and this one doesn't either. Okay, well, that's too bad. Let me see here. Yeah, so this one, when they can't figure out, no, they did figure it out. Let me just double check here. I think I made a mistake. Okay, well, what would have been nice is if they had paid attention to this, to use reader when available. It was available and they just didn't do it. Well, I'm going to show you a web page where they do it, where they do pay attention. LA Times. Now, here's the thing about the Times. You're supposed to subscribe. You're supposed to log in. And every so often you go to a web page that refuses to allow you to do anything. They put up a big blocking thing that says, you know, you got to pay. And that's a drag. A lot of times you just want one article. So it doesn't seem fair. So watch what happens. I'm going to do it right here, I think. Let me just check my settings here. Yeah, I'm not using the reader. Okay, so I'm gonna go look at this article, and looky here. Okay, I'm sure you've seen this before. Well, I've seen it before too. But so here's this page, and I can't scroll. I'm trying hard to scroll, won't scroll. I don't have a subscription, but I just want to see this one little article, pretty please. Well, I see here this little button. That's my reader button. See, when I go up here, it says Show Reader View. I can also come up here and see the reader. So let's just do it, see what happens. All right. Oh, looky here. Okay. So let's go back. Let's do another one. Let's look at this one here about the sheriff. Okay. Oh, I'm blocked again. No, I'm not. I'll just click here to show the reader view. Okay. Now, sometimes you get this. Sometimes you get the button to say subscribe still, but I'm close. So let's do one more thing. Now I'm going to tell it for this page, always use the reader if you can, because I know I'm going to get blocked on every single page I go to. So let's watch and see. So here's an article. I click here, instant reader view. I didn't have to do anything. When I go back, the reason this is not a reader view is because they can't figure out what the article is. The reader view only works when there's one article. If a web page has one article on it and Safari can figure out what that article is, then they do reader view. But here, this is a whole bunch of links to articles. They couldn't do it in reader view, so they don't. And so, but when I click a link, it automatically switched to reader. How cool is that? So there you go. So that's the reader view. And so between the reader view and wiper, and also these great settings to say, look, I want a certain size. I don't want pop-up windows. You can really make viewing things a lot nicer. Okay, good. Let's do some searching stuff. Here's the normal person does this. We don't want to be normal. Do not be normal. The normal person wants to search for something. So what they do is they go to google.com, or they make Google their homepage, and they go here, and now they search for, I'm going to look for San Francisco 49ers, if I can type record. Okay. All right. So that's pretty bad typing. It's cold over here. My fingers are freezing. Okay. So I can search like that. That worked. That worked. There's nothing wrong with that, but it meant that I had to go to Google first and do it. Better, let's just start over. Let's just make a new, there's a nice new window. Cursor's already in there. I'm just going to type it up there. Now, notice I haven't hit return yet. And you can also notice in the blue writing to the right of what I was typing, it says search Google. They're telling you that, hey, this is a Google window. If I hit return, it's going to search just as if I'd gone to Google and do the search there. And why is it searching Google? It's because of those preferences we set at the beginning. We said Google's going to be our search engine. Google's the default search engine. And I imagine somebody knows how much Apple Pay gets, how much Google pays Apple. I think it's $15 billion a year to be the default search engine. But anyway, that's why it says search Google here. But you notice before I even finished typing, what I was looking for, they're showing me some information about the San Francisco 49ers. And in this case, they're showing me that their last game. But I'm going to keep going. I type record, and now I can hit return. I get the exact same thing, but I saved myself a step. I didn't have to go to Google first because this box up here, this is Google up here. That's why it says in the gray, search or enter a website name. Okay, search or. So you can do a lot of neat things up here in this bar. This is it has been called the smart search bar. I'm going to show you something smart. I'm going to look for the weather here in Santa Monica, where it's, over here when it's freezing, it means it's 60 or something. It's not very cold, but I'm going to look for Santa Monica, and I'm going to type a W, and automatic. They already know I'm looking for weather, and so I don't have to go to weather.com. I don't even have to bring up a web page. I've already got an answer there. So if I'll do another one. If I do Tucson, I'll hit a W, and they already know the weather. So this kind of stuff, there's a lot of little surprises in here in this box. You should play around. I'm going to do one more. Let's look at Apple stock. Well, I'm just going to do AAPL. I didn't even finish typing it, and they can see that Apple's up. So there's gobs of stuff like this in there. So you should experiment and see. You may just find that it saves you a trip to a website. I didn't have to go to, Yahoo Finance or whatever you would go to. Okay, so fun stuff. Now here's something else fun. Let's say I'm going to go. I'm going to look up the Constitution. It's been in the news. No, I'll look at the Declaration of Independence. More fun. So here I go. Declaration of Independence, and here it is. Actually, what I want is the text. So I'm going to see if I can just find. Here it is, full text. Great. This looks great. So now, I know I was supposed to memorize this in third grade or something, but I forgot. So somewhere in here, they are complaining about the king. So I don't want to read this whole thing to try to find the king. So, we're good at searching Google. Maybe we're not, but you'll get good. If you're not good, you can find an article on my webpage about some Google search tricks. But sometimes you want to search the page itself. I want to find the word king on here. And all you do is you do Command F, just like you would expect. I'm going to do Command F. Up here, it shows me the last thing that I had copied. So I'm going to just I'm putting king, and there it is. There's the king. How nice. And it's showing me that there are 2 matches here. So if I wanted to go again to the next place, there it is. Oh, that's take king away. If I want to be pure, I'll say it has to begin with king, and then I pretty much got it. So that's handy as anything. Sometimes you just got a lot of stuff to read, and you read it and you don't see it. And you read it again and you don't see it. And Command F is gonna be your friend there. Okay, now let's see. Let's look at managing the whole thing: bookmarks, history, tabs, the works. All right. Well, so there's a lot of web pages that I go to just about every day. I go to Mac Rumors. Okay, Mac Rumors. Okay, there's one. And I'm going to make a new tab here. So there's a lot of ways to do that, but I'm going to make a new tab like this. And in this one, I'm going to go to Daring Fireball, which is another good site. And I'm going to make another new tab. And of course, there's other ways to do it. You got a plus over here. So this one I'm going to go to Mac Most, which is quite nice too. Okay. And I think I'm going to go to Macintosh, which is kind of an oldie but goodie. So I'll hit this plus again. I'm going to Macintosh. Okay. Now, that's nice. I would like to be able to bring up these 4 pages anytime I want. Well, of course I can make bookmarks, right? That's baby stuff. Everyone knows you can I can add a bookmark, and that's fine. But if you look right here, I can add a bookmark for these 4 tabs. So I've got this window with these 4 tabs that are just what I need to read every single day. And I've got this nice bookmarks menu that says add a bookmark for these 4 tabs. I'm going to do that. So when I do that, I can call this anything I want. I'm going to call this daily. I'm just call this Mac stuff. Okay. And I can call it anything I want. And where is it going to go? Well, I'm going to put it in the favorites bar, which is this strip across the top. Now, if you don't have a favorites bar, that's not going to show up very well. And you can see here under view, you might have your favorites bar hidden. Then you don't see it. So I want to see this thing. So I'm going to show the favorites bar. But you don't see my Mac stuff. You see a bunch of other stuff. And that's because the way Safari adds new bookmarks is to the end of this list. And unfortunately, this list is pretty long, right? So it's way down here. Well, that's not useful at all. Okay, that's just a big waste of time. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to move it. And so we're going to go to our bookmarks. We're going to show the bookmarks. And actually, we're going to edit the bookmarks. So what we're going to do, we're going to edit it. So now we're seeing all of our bookmarks. So the favorites is this part here. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go here. Now, this Mac reading was some other Mac reading, which I'm going to actually delete. I'm going to control click on this and delete it. Okay, that was the real one. That's what I really do. But way down here, I know way down here is maybe not that far down, right about here, my Mac stuff. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to pull it up. Okay, I'm going to put it at the top of this list. And there's other ways to do this too, but I'm going to put it right there. And now you see it showed up right there. Okay, so what does this do for us? Well, I'm going to close this. There's no save or anything here, but I'm going to close this. And you notice it's here now. Okay, it says Mac stuff. Any new window I make, no matter how I make it, is going to have Mac stuff there. So if I click on this and I hold it, I get a little mini menu. So I can go to Mac Most, or I could go to Mac Rumors. Okay, so that's fine. But I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to not click and hold on it. I'm just going to click and let go. Okay, and there's all 4 pages all laid out for me. So if there are collections of pages that you use together, maybe you've got one for news where you're going to read a couple of newspapers, maybe a magazine, you can group them in that way. Okay, but what really happens though, in a lot of cases, what happens is you get a lot of tabs going, right? I'm gonna open up a bunch, and one of the ways that you get a lot of tabs going is is you do a search. So I'm going to search for, I'm going to look for Mac user groups. Okay, so when I do this search and I go here and I'm going to see if I can do, let's see what happens here. Do we have some, let's go to user, find a group. Let's see if we can find a group. Oh, they can't do that. Let's see if there's any resources. Oh, they can't do that. Okay, we'll look for something else. Thanks, Apple. Okay, we'll do, I'm gonna look for, oh, I don't know, best Mac consultants in Los Angeles, okay? So suppose I wanna be checking out the competition here. And I do this search, it's a Google search. Of course, the beginning of it is ads and stuff, but let's say I wanted to look at this web page and this web page and this web page, this web page, and so on. What we do, I mean, the normal thing to do is the bad thing to do. The normal thing to do is this. You click, you wait for the page to load, you read it, you go back, you go to the next one, you scroll down, you read it, you go back. No good. So I'm going to hold down the command key and I'm going to make use of that preference we used at the very beginning. And I'm going to open these things in tabs. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 tabs, but I'm going to get a whole bunch more. So I'm going to hold down the command. I'm going to click, click, click. And so for me, this is a really fast way to open up a whole lot of pages while not losing track of what I was searching for. Because that's, if you hear my birds, that's a clock telling us it's 7 o'clock. So if you do it like this, then I can flip through these things really quickly and I can still get back to my search. Now, sometimes though, you got something like this and there's so many tabs that you just wish there was like a faster way, like to always, no matter what, get to a certain page that you use a lot. So I'm gonna make, let's say I'm gonna make, I'm make Apple's page. I want to make apple.com a web page I can get to really fast anytime. So what you do is you take the tab for Apple. I mean, I can move it around too. Suppose I'd opened it a long time ago, like this. I can grab this tab and start pulling it over. And I'm pulling and pulling, still going, running out of room, still going, and it turns into just the icon, okay? Let's do another one. Let's say I do, I'll do my own since I happen to know that address. So here's this web page. I want to go look at it or something. I can grab this tab. Don't have to grab the icon. Just grab the tab. Keep pulling. Pull. Keep going, and it turns into just the icon. Okay. So now I'm going to quit Safari, and I'm going to come back to open up Safari, and you see here. Here's these two things that I made shortcuts for. There's the tab for Apple. Here's the tab for me. Now these two I'd made. I forgot to remove them, but anyway, there they are. I can just make them white again, and they won't be there. Okay, so that's pretty handy. Now, but I noticed here, like, what if you accidentally quit Safari and you had all those pages open, and you know you'll never quite get those same pages open again by doing that search again. Luckily for us, under history, we can reopen all of the windows from last session. This is super handy. I don't want to have to go through history and try to figure it out and go through these things. I'm just going to say, open the windows from last session. And now, I happen to have just the one window open, but here's the stuff. I think you probably remember this. This is what I had up before. So if you accidentally do a quit, or instead of closing a tab, you accidentally close the whole window. Wow. Well, remember, you got history. I can do reopen the last closed window. which is cool. That comes back again. But even after you quit, you can still do all windows from last session. Okay, so that's really great. Okay, so we're gonna do just a couple more things. I think we're kind of getting short on time, right? How much time do I have, Bob? Give me 5 minutes. I think that's a yes. Okay. So was that a
10
yes?
or 15, whatever you need.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so we looked in the bookmarks. When we edited the bookmarks, we didn't do well. Look, we got a lot of them, right? Holy smackers! This is what happens. Bookmarks seem like such a great idea when there were like 5 websites in the whole world, but now you've got all these pages. So it turns out it's searchable. So I'm going to do a search up here. I sometimes go to Texas, and I'm going to see if I've got. I know I had some web pages about Texas, so I can search this. I can search my bookmarks this way, and I don't have to hit return. I'm just typing, and now I see how to cook a brisket. Now we're talking. Here's a gardening calendar for Texas. If I double click this, it should take me to hopefully a calendar. Yeah, it tells me what to plant when and that kind of thing. Let me search. I'm gonna now look for that brisket recipe. That sounds pretty good. So let's see. So I look for brisket, and here's all these briskets. And the guy liked to barbecue. I guess we found that out. So anyhow, you can search your bookmarks and find the one that you're looking for. You're not going to find it. If you're doing it this way, if you're going up here to bookmarks and you're trying to find it by scrolling through this list, you're never going to find it. And besides that, some of these bookmarks are actually folders like this. This is hard, right? This is hard. So search it. Now you can also search, turns out, you can search your history too. So I'm gonna close up these bookmarks. If I go to the history, I can, if I show the history, I can then search that too in exactly the same way. I'll go up here. I'll look for Texas again, and I found all these Texas things, articles about the Texas football team and other things. But it's searchable, which is great because, again, going through this and trying to say, well, what did I do, earlier today or Monday or whatever, this is really hard to do. So this is why we don't clear history. It's nice to be able to go back and find your stuff. So, use the search, make use of the search. And it turns out that tabs are searchable too. So sometimes you get a situation like this where you've got all these tabs. And here I'm reading this. I'm going to read this website. I'm going to hold down the command key and open up some more tabs by command clicking. And you can see I'm getting more tabs here. This one seems interesting. I'll read this. I'll read this too. So I'm holding down the command, and I don't want to read about that. It's boring. I'll read. Yeah, there you go. So I've made all these tabs. Now, when I'm looking up here, there's so many tabs that I can't see the names. I can only see the icons. Now, if I made my window a little bigger, I start to see the names, right? But you can imagine I could easily have more tabs than would be possible to show the names of. I mean, there's some icons that really are giveaways. This is New Yorker magazine, right? This is me, or it was once upon a time, about 10 years ago. This is WebMD this is MacFixit. All right, this is Apple, but still, it's hard to find things by looking at things. Now you could point and let the website pop down like that. Now some of them will even give you a preview. Like if you just hover over it, at least you see the name. And this one I got a real preview, which is nice. This one I got a real preview. I don't know why these guys didn't get a preview, but that's the way it goes. But the point is this is searchable. So how do we do that? Well, you've got this button up here that is really overlooked, the so-called tab overview. So we click on this, and here's all those tabs now all laid out. And up here, there's a search. So these are the windows, these are the tabs I have open. So if I'm looking for this thing about Elon Musk, I can type Elon and I find 2 articles about him, just like that. So if you have a lot of tabs open, then this tab overview is going to be your friend, because you can really you can find your stuff faster that way than by doing it by eye. Okay, so let's not do that. Okay, turning the corner here, down the stretch they come. This is the end of it here. I want to show you some extensions that I like for Safari. I've already shown you a couple. I showed you one. I showed you Wiper. So extensions are things that extend the capability of Safari. They have to be vetted by Apple. There was a time when a person could make an extension and just put it out there in the wild, and people could install it. But now that opened up some security risks. So Apple has changed that. So now what they do is they say apps. Well, it turns out that extensions for Safari have a corresponding app. You never see it. You never use it. But they go through the App Store. So they're really safe to use. They're not going to be stealing your data. It's because they've got it, unless they get past Apple's eagle-eye guys. So let's look at some of the ones I have, and I'll show you how to get them. So I'm going to go here to preferences here. So when you're talking about extensions, it's tempting to go here to Safari extensions. If you do this, what you're doing is you're going to the App Store and you're looking for extensions. Okay, so this is fine. This is nice, but it's not what I want to do. Right now, what I want to do is I want to look at the extensions that I have that I've turned off, so that I was giving you a more stock appearance. But I'm going to turn them back on now. So extensions are one of the many preferences here. Here they are. And I turned on Wiper. Let's look at some of these other ones I've got. 1Password is the one I use for storing passwords, and it gives me a little icon. This one here, that's the 1Password icon. Downy is an interesting one. Downy is one that lets you download YouTube videos and keep them. So if you're trying to get a piece of video and put it into a presentation or something, you pay for Downy, and then it gives you an extension, and then you basically go to YouTube and you can download stuff, and it's really quite easy. All right, this one's nice. So the PayPal company bought the Honey company, and Honey is the app that looks at what you're buying and tells you if there's a better deal, and it also will track prices for you. So if you're about to buy something at Amazon and you see that it was cheaper 2 days ago, maybe you wait, and it will then that'll save you some money. And lastly but not least, this one called Stop the Madness. And this is not a cheap one. This is, I think it's $10. But what it does is it takes away a lot of the frustrations in web pages where you try to copy some text, it won't let you copy it. You try to click on things, it won't let you click, because websites are trying to lock you down to do certain things. And well, my advice is go look up Stop the Madness and see all the good things that it does and see if you want to buy it or not. Now, if you want more extensions, this is where you go. You go more extensions, and we're back to where we started, back here in the App Store here. And you can search, but there's a lot of free ones. There's a bunch of pay ones. You see, here's our friend Wiper. Here's Stop the Madness. I'll just show you this now. You see the sorts of things it does. And it works. You can get Stop the Madness for other browsers too. It's more than an ad blocker. It's really not an ad blocker. And the the feature list just goes on and on. Let's just look at some of them. So it re-enables certain features that web developers sometimes take away in order to, to track you better. And, videos that autoplay that'll drive you bananas. So they'll make that stop. When you click a link that's a map, it'll send you to Apple Maps instead of maps.google.com, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And there is another one that does that same job about the maps. It's called Mapper. That's all it does is if there's a link that's supposed to go to Google Maps, it sends you to Apple Maps if that's what you like. I don't think you need both if you've got Stop the Madness. Okay, so let's see if there's something else. So you've got all these extensions now. All these extensions that I've added tend to put things into the menu, the toolbar up here, and that's fine. We can move them around if you want. Maybe it's a little cluttered here, so I can hold the Command key down and grab things. I can put things over here. So that's nice. Okay, that got us to the end of the page, into the 5 pages. And I'm just going to check another set of notes that I made for myself to make sure I didn't leave. Oh, yes, I did leave something out. Passwords. Holy cow. So how many times you go to a web page and you need a password, right? And so if you go to the web page and you let it fill in for you, if it fills in with yellow, if there's, if it shows you your name, your username, and your password, and they're kind of in a little yellow field, well, that means that Safari remembered it. And when Safari remembers it, it's remembered in the keychain. So, old time Mac guys, even not so old time Mac guys, and of course Mac girls too, would know that you would go to the keychain access and look for passwords in there. But that's a hard way. In Safari, I'm just sort of in slow motion. In Safari, if you go to preferences and you try to go to the passwords, you can't get in here unless you unlock things, and you unlock it the same way you unlock your user. I can use my finger because this is a Touch ID keyboard, but you would also be able to type in your password. Now, I'm not going to do this in real life here. I'll go here. Let's go here. Okay, so this is Ancestry.com. So if I click there, I know that I have a username that's Gary with 2 R's 1934, and there's a password of some sort. Now, trust me, if I pointed to it, you'd see the password. Okay. And trust me, if I hit edit, you'd be able to see the password and you can type something else in there. So if you're just wondering what the password is, this is where you can find out. Okay, this is great. So, here's my developer login with Apple. Okay, so it's this, and then I could point there. I'm not going to do it, but that's that. Now I could also send that to somebody if someone needs to know. If you share with somebody, I can share it. Okay, I can share that password and send it. This is really, really, really handy. It's a very easy way for you to see your login passwords for the passwords that you've saved. So when Safari says, do you want to save it? And you say yes, you'll find it in here later. So that's awfully nice. Let's see. Oh, one more thing. We did a lot of command clicking, but it turns out you can also do control clicking. So I'm gonna open up my Mac stuff again. If I click on a tab, it just takes me forward. That's easy. If I control click on a tab, I get all these neat things here. And pinning a tab is the same as me dragging it all the way over there to the left like I did before. So I'll just do it now, and you'll see the Daring Fireball icon get pinned. So it's there. Okay, it's pinned. So it's handy for any time. There's a lot of other things we can do here. And that's what you get with a control key, right? It's a control click. I'm gonna do one more thing that I don't think anybody ever does, and I'm gonna start like this. I'm gonna go to pretend I'm gonna go to this Ventura section. I'm gonna read this, and then I'm gonna read this, and then I'm gonna read. Well, I'm not really reading them, of course, but I'm reading all these articles, and now I wish I could get back to wherever it was I was. Well, you've got this back button, and what the normal person does is they click it and they go back, and they go back, and they go back. Well, I'm going to go forward 3 times again, get back where we were. If you click it and hold it, you get a list showing you the path all the way back. So this could be very, very long, and I can just jump back to where I was. So that one I like a lot. Let's see if I get something else here. Okay, oh yeah, one more thing. When you go to click a link, like here, I go to click this link, I can see down at the bottom, it's not easy to see, but way down here at the bottom, I'm gonna see where that link is gonna go. Okay, do you see this one says in the tiny print at the bottom, macrumors.com/roundup/iPadOS-16. That's handy. If I turn off this status bar, actually, this page might be a little too big. Well, we'll see. If the status bar isn't there, you don't see it, right? You don't see where this link is going to go. So suppose you did some sort of Google search. You're looking for, again, I don't know, best Chinese food in Tucson. Okay, and you know, if you point to this, you don't see exactly the URL of where it's going to go. But if I tell it, show me that status bar, now it says status bar is on. When I point to things, it tells me where it's going to go. So you want to know whether a website, you know, if I'm going to, I think I'm going to TucsonFoodie.com, that URL down there in the bottom left corner, it better say Tucson Foodie. And if it says something else, they might be trying to take you to the wrong place. Okay, I think I'm going to, drop it there. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, and I'll take questions. Anybody?
I got a simple one. How do you stop the extensions from changing location in Safari? So I have a lot of third-party extensions, and every now and then they'll all be on the left-hand side.
Oh, I don't know. That sounds like a bug. I know how to move them back, but
Oh yeah, I know how to move them back easily.
Yeah. Now, by the way, when that reminds me of moving them back, I was doing it with the command key.
Command key.
Because this is kind of showing off, but that doesn't mean that you can't still go to customize toolbar while you're here, move them around as well, right? So you can do them when you're here. I don't know why it jumps to something else. Does it revert to the plain set, or does it just show you the ones you want, but they're rearranged?
Like you have the honey on the right.
Yeah.
In a week from now, I might launch Safari, and the honey will be on the left.
Interesting. Now, this is sort of interesting too, is I make the windows smaller.
Yeah, they disappear.
Some of that toolbar has disappeared, but you got the famous double arrows here, and you know they're. I don't know the answer. That sounds like a bug, and that's beyond me, right? So
now, also you can customize the toolbar by right-clicking in the toolbar and select customize.
You can, yes. I was going to say control click because I'm that kind of guy, but yes, there's that. This is I'm only on the control key and clicking. The reason I do it that way is because when I have a right click set up on my trackpad, I tend to hit it by mistake, and it bothers me. So, and you know, also I'm a little bit of a Mac purist, kind of an OG Mac guy, where the original, the Apple mouse did not have a right click; it just had a click. And of course, the PCs eventually, they had the right click, and Apple was very stubborn, sticking with the right click. And finally, of course, they did built in what they call the secondary click option, which amounts to the same thing. But anyway, I stuck with the control click. It's been there all along, and it makes me feel like I'm in a little bit more control. All right, next. Come on.
Seems
Wanna
like
s-
you've answered all of our questions,
Can I
Christian.
show you some good Google search tips as long as we're here?
Sure, we have a few minutes.
Okay, look. Suppose I go here. Suppose I'm looking for the best hamburger. Okay, well, the best hamburger in Los. I'm not going to even say in Los Angeles. They know. They know. Google knows my current location, right? So they're not going to show me stuff in Tucson. They're going to show me stuff here. But supposing, look at all these articles. What if I remember that I read about like a list of the best hamburgers, and I read about it on the LA Times site. So what I can do is I can put in the word site. So I typed here, I got my search term is already there. Then I put in site : and then latimes.com. So there's no spaces in there. It's just site : latimes.com. So what I do when I hit return is I've restricted this to LA Times articles. Look, these are all from LA Times. So if you remember where you saw it, but you don't remember completely where you saw it, this is a great way for you to help you to find stuff. Okay. So you just use the word site, and there it is. Okay, that's all I got. We'll call it a night there.
Okay, thank you very much, Christian. It's appreciated that you came and spent your time educating us. And we have your URL, christianboyce.com, in the meeting chat. Please stop over there and take a look at what he has to offer. And also click on the feedback link. And if you don't have the Safari tips for Mac users, it's in the meeting chat. Download it. You can keep it for future reference.
Yeah, and in fact, there's links in there too. You can get to my website by clicking a link in that PDF.
Okay. Well, now for the highlight of the evening that everybody's waiting for, and that is the door prize, the raffle. I think I'll ask Christian
Sure.
if you can ask your S lady to pick a number between 1 and 23.
That's wild. Okay. Pick a number between 1 and 23.
It's 7.
It's 7, she says. I can't see it, but she's
Okay,
7.
7 is Jeff Blundell. Jeff, are you still here with us? It doesn't look like it, but you are the winner of the door prize for November. And I'm sorry to have to tell Susan Oates, who was our winner last month, that our prize has gone from $10 to $25. And so you were the final one to get the $10 prize. And Jeff will be the first one to get the $25 prize. So everybody, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Drive safely all the way home and come back and see us again next month.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Christian.
It's been my
Good
pleasure.
to see everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.